live with Mr. Chip Baker himself, the man with the plan.
Let's go.
Thank you so much for being here. I know I thank you a lot, but I really appreciate my time with you. You are such a big influence in my life, whether you know it or not. And I appreciate all the opportunities that you've given me. So thank you.
Now, thank you. It's a blessing to have people in your life that say yes, right? And so a long time ago, you chose to say yes. And for me, just like you said, I don't take that lightly because you don't have to do that. And so, my goal has always been, to people that have said yes and supported me is to serve and to give back and strive to do whatever I can do to help others because I've had people in my life to help me and do that for me. And so, man, it's my honor and privilege to be able to do those things. So thank you for having me, and thank you for who you are and how you do what you do.
Of course. And you do it well, and it
Thank
looks like you
you.
do it seamlessly. So keep doing what you're doing.
Let's go.
So for my inner circle, I've been pushing out that I recently co-authored a book, and it's going to be
Hmm.
releasing very soon. But a lot of my people may not know who you are. And Chip Baker is the author of the Impact of Influence series, which is where I got to be a co-author. He is also a coach. He's also a teacher, and this is not his first rodeo. If I have the number correct, I believe you have authored 23 books to date. Is that correct?
That's wow. Yes, that's correct. Like it just, man, it gave me chills when you said that. It just, it's pretty neat. Yeah, I've been a part of or published 23 books. It's been cool.
That's awesome. So I don't know that I would have jumped into authoring and publishing a book
Hmm.
as soon as or when I did had me and you not crossed paths.
Yeah.
I've heard you say this before, and I totally agree with it, that everyone has a story, right? But how did you get started? And how would somebody get started if this is something that they want to do? Because you were a big reason that I got started. So I was blessed with
Yeah.
you really doing a lot of the legwork. And there's still a lot that
Hmm.
I have to learn on the back end that I don't really get to see, honestly. But for somebody else, that really wants to get started, they have their story, they've been writing stuff down. How did you get started? And what would you recommend for somebody else that's getting started with authoring?
Yeah, I think the first thing how I got started very similar to how you and I crossed paths and got started, right?
Oh.
And so I say that because I think the first thing is it's important for us to put ourselves in situations where we're around people that are doing bigger and better things, so that we can see first off, wait, bigger and better things are possible for me too.
Mm-hmm.
Like if that guy can do it where he's from and all that stuff, well, yeah, I can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the first thing, just being in proximity around people, putting yourself in those situations where you have to stretch yourself
Mm-hmm.
and push yourself to do better. And so I think that was the first thing for me, and that came via the way of me speaking and um man, just interviewing people on my podcast. And
Mm.
so my first I had an opportunity, I was doing the podcast and speaking. I got asked to speak to this men's group. Well, hold on, let me go back. I was doing my podcast, and my very first book I co-wrote with the guy that I interviewed on my podcast. What I found out was, like, he and his friend Dr. Oliver T. Reed, they had a self-publishing group. And he was like, man, you ever thought about writing a book? I was like, yeah, I thought about it.
Right?
it's
Yeah,
a,
I
it's a,
thought about
yeah, yeah, it's
it.
a bucket list goal. Of course, I thought about it. But he was able to, teach me some things and show me. So he and I co-wrote my first two books, right?
Mm.
And so then, I did a solo deal with just formulas, and co-wrote another one with the guy, church group from a guy from my men's church group. We did a co-authored. And then along that journey, I was interviewing more people, and then I got asked to speak and doing more speaking. I got asked to speak to this a men's group that was pretty large all over the U.S. And so, man, several cool entrepreneurs in that group. And one of the guys I got connected with because he was from Houston, close to where I'm from, and he had a self-publishing group as well. And so he hit me up. He's like, "Man, you ever thought about right? You ever
Mm.
thought about like you get to interview some really cool people. You ever thought about bringing some of those people together and like doing a compilation book or something like that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I thought about it."
That's
It's,
where the buck ends. I just thought about it.
I mean, it's a bucket list goal. But again, and then he helped me. Sugar Ray Destin, I want to send some love to him. Business of Books Mastermind, and that's how we did the very first Impact of Influence book. And
Oh,
so, man, it was crazy. He called me like it was my birthday, like a holiday. I was going out to eat lunch. He called me, and I normally don't like if I'm like having lunch or dinner. I normally try to not, be on the phone. But I saw he was calling, so I wanted to answer real quick. And he asked me, I was like, "Man, that's crazy." And within like an hour or two, we had the cover created and everything.
wow.
And so it was rolling. And then, did several volumes. Like you were in volume 3 with the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty neat, pretty cool opportunity from there. And now we're up to volume 10.
Volume 10, baby. Yeah, get your
Volume 10.
shameless plug.
Let's go.
Hey fam, if you're enjoying this interview so far and you want to know more about this Impact of Influence book series that we keep mentioning, I want to personally invite you to come out to my upcoming book launching and signing event. Crafts and Moor is going to be helping us host it. It is a brand new craft store located on 9787 McCombs, Suite 10, and we will be having that this upcoming Saturday, February the 8th at 12 p.m. We'll also be giving out some free books, so make sure you join the raffles. I look forward to seeing you then. Now let's get back to that interview.
Oh, that's so cool. So I have to ask, how do you choose co-authors? Because you are also a master networker. You meet so many people. Like I think I meet a lot of people, but you are off the charts when it comes to networking, I think, from what I've seen. So how do you pick and choose like who you think is going to make a good fit in your books?
So as you're asked that question, like I'm looking at you, right? And I'm just thinking like characteristics of you, right? So I just think I've been very fortunate and blessed in my life to come across some beautiful people, right? And what I mean by that is like, man, I love good people with good hearts.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I just love like it, man, just makes me feel good to be around those kind of people, right? I get better when I'm around those kind of people.
Yeah.
And you're of that mold too, right? And so like like I think it sticks out to me when I come across people, when I see people that are not only doing big things, because when I met you, you're doing the real estate and your different thing, your networking and your business stuff, but not only are they doing big things, they go above and beyond to help their people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they understand it like it's bigger than me. It's not just about me and what I can achieve, but
Right.
it's about achieving some things and being the best version of myself so that I can share that with the people that I love and care about. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's kind of I don't know, the base,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, uh, traits, characteristics of the people that I've strived to choose, because what that means to me is that like those good people, by sharing their influence and impact, is going to continue to help the world be better. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, that's what it's been for me. Like I just love good people, good-hearted people.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people can say the same about you, Chip. I know I
And
can.
I hope so. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I really hope so. because that's what I strive to do, man. Like I know, um, man, I just like, we've been together at some events and some different things, and just hearing people talk about the experience, or like seeing like the children or the family members like hold the book for their first time, seeing like that right there. Like for me, it's not about like book sales and bestseller and all of, I mean, that's all of that stuff, that's good, but like to see like the kids of the authors or the families of the authors see that, like, man, that's my mom right there.
Mhm.
Like that's my dad. Like he's really like a published author. Like that really shows them that, like, nah, like if they can do it, well, man, I can too. And
Mm,
that's what it's about for me.
yeah. That makes me a little bit emotional.
Yeah, yeah,
That chokes me up a little bit.
yeah. Because I use an example because I saw that with you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so beautiful that you not only have found your own way in this industry of publishing, but you've also been open to collaboration. And I talk about collaboration a lot. I talk about partnership a lot.
Hmm.
In my last interview, I talked about how when I became a realtor, I never thought about how much good partnerships, well, bad partnerships too, partnerships in general were going to make a difference in my business,
Yeah,
in my day-to-day, in
yeah,
my life. It
yeah,
wasn't something that I really thought about until I was in it. And the as every year progresses, I see more and more the impact of good collaborations. Proximity is power. Who you are
yeah,
around makes a huge difference. And what you can do, we're better together. Like I said, and you said, maybe we wouldn't have published what we did as soon as we did had it not been for somebody else trying to collaborate with us. And
yeah,
I can say that for really a number of different activities or ventures that I've gone
yeah,
into. But that's really beautiful. And I think that you do a really good job of bringing light to the world in that sense. You always have a very positive outlook, but you're also very real. And I appreciate that. I think sometimes when you're going through a hard time or you're in a dark place, you might see your peers or whoever it is that you're following out there, being all Mr. and Mrs. Positive and feeling like either it's a facade or it's too good to be true, or like where's the realness in it.
yeah, yeah,
and I know that I did that for a while because I really just thought like, well, people don't want to see the other side of it. But I think the other
hmm,
side of it is important in the sense of like just being real. And like one of the big lessons that I learned from you, and we briefly chatted about this, was the first time that we did our volume 3 and we were at an event, and I was just looking at you like, how does he do all of this? Like, how does he keep up with all of this? And when I asked you that, like, I was actually feeling really overwhelmed. I'll tell you this, and I don't think I told you this before. We were in Houston, so I took a trip to Houston. I
hmm,
have people in Houston that I would love to see again. But during that trip, before that trip, just because of personal things in my life, I was feeling extremely overwhelmed and weighted down, like trying to keep up, so to speak. That was where I was at. And I felt horrible about like not visiting them, but I really just wanted to take a
you
little.
needed that time.
And so I think I
Yeah,
stayed there like an extra day, and I just stayed in my I got an Airbnb and I just stayed in my room and just kind of decompressed. But that was one of the reasons that I asked you that. It wasn't just because you were doing so much, it was because you were doing it with such good energy and you seem to be really enjoying it. um
yeah,
And so that's when I asked you, and your answer was, everything has its seasons, and these seasons don't last forever. And that is a lesson that I will genuinely keep for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Because I think about that whenever I'm in, we all go through our seasons. That just is what it is. Sometimes we feel a little overworked, or we're feeling like things aren't going our way, and our high seasons too. We feel like we're on top of the world, and just going, just in go mode.
Yeah.
But nothing lasts forever, good or bad, good, bad, or indifferent. We have our seasons, and that really helped me.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I think everything, and that's one thing I learned, like, being an athlete, like in high school, I played 4 sports for 4 years in high school. And so there's certain seasons for everything, right? I know, football, I'm getting beat up, but, I know the first week of November, the season will be done and me getting beat up or beating people up, if you will. I try to do a lot of that, but you know, then my body could recover, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now during basketball season, it's a lot of running and conditioning and all of those kind of things, but my body wasn't taking a beating, right?
Yeah.
And so, you go throughout the whole year, so it's different seasons. So, man, I was fortunate enough to realize that, hey, man, life is like that too. There's seasons in our lives, and so in every season, it's important for us to be in the moment, enjoy the moment with the seasons that we're in, because really, it's really winning and winning. Like some people say, well, it's winning and losing, but really, if you have the awareness to learn the lessons that you're supposed to learn in those tough seasons, if you will, it's not winning and losing, it's winning and learning, which really is winning and winning, because you're going to be better on the other side of that. Oh, let me give you this. This just came to me. This is good right here. Let me give you this one. So this is good. I had to warn them. I had to
Take
warn them
it.
to need this good right here. So man, there's in the Japanese culture, there's this tradition called kinsekuroi. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it. I read this. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I hope so. But it's called kinsekuroi. And what happens is, they have like beautiful pottery, right? There's like designs on it and different things. And because they put so much work in it, when the pottery cracks, instead of like discarding and getting rid of it, like they lace it with gold and silver. And so what happens is the pottery is more valuable because it's been damaged and cracked, because it's laced with gold and silver. And so in our lives, that's how it is for us in those seasons. When we go through those tough seasons, man, we learn so many lessons that's going to make us better, because we get laced with those lessons and learning things that now, I mean, you're going to see those things again down the road, or you're going to know somebody that will see those things down the road, and you can help them navigate that storm or that season, if you will. So, man, I wanted to share that one because I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, 100%. And that's so true. And we were talking before we hit record
Yeah,
about some of the seasons that we went through. And my chapter, to sum it up without giving too much away, it's about the year that I got sober, I got saved, I got married in that same year, but everything that led up to it. And what led up to it was not pretty. It was not pretty. But those were some of the hardest lessons that I learned, but they were so impactful. And I know that I'm a better person for it. But I had to get up. I had to get up. And if for anybody that might be watching this that's in like a dark place or feeling stuck, I know that that's the hardest part. I know. And you hear it from everybody left and right, like, just get up and just do it. Nobody can do it for you. You have to do it yourself, but you are capable of doing it yourself. You
Yeah.
are capable.
Yeah, you
Um,
just take one step, right?
mhm,
Like sometimes when we're in those situations, we may think, well, oh, it's so heavy on me, and it's this, and it's just a lot. Well, it is, right? Like I wanna give you permission to understand. Oh no, like no, it's tough, right? I'm
mhm.
not saying, well, no, it's not. No, bro, it is tough. Life is tough. Life be lifing, right? And it's super tough, and none of us are immune from like growing through tough things, right? But what we have to do is, man, just get you some when you're in those situations, get you some noise cancellation, cancel out some of the noise, uh, and just take one step at a
Mhm,
time, right? What is the one thing that I can do today that's
mhm,
gonna make me better? And you just focus on that. And
mhm,
then, once you take baby steps, young grasshopper, right?
mhm,
And once you take those baby steps, each day, then you'll get your little momentum. You'll make it to a week. You're
mhm,
like, okay, okay, all right, all right. Then you'll get to a month, like, okay, all right. Then you'll get, several months into a year. And then, before you know it, you've done those four things that you've talked about. You know, but it all started with just, like, man, understanding where you are,
mhm,
accepting it, accepting my part and where I am, right?
mhm,
And then now, like, what am I going to do to make it better, right?
mhm,
What steps am I going to take today
mhm.
to make it better? And just take one step today.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I learned this a long time ago. Just try to be 1% better every day. Just one.
Yep.
Don't
That's it.
overdo it. Just 1% better. And like you said, and that was a question that I would ask myself a lot when I was in that dark place is like, what's one thing that I can do today that, by the end of the day, I'll be proud to say that it got done. For some people, it's getting out of bed and showering.
Period. Yep.
Like if that's where you're at, that's where you're at. It's okay. Do that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, for some people, it's getting dressed and getting out of the house and into the office, or, whatever it is for you, you know what it is. If you ask yourself
Yeah.
the tough questions,
Yeah.
you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important. Like ask yourself the questions. You have the answers within you, you know?
Mhm. I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Look within to win because you can.
Mm-hmm. Um, that reminds me, you work a lot with students. I'm sorry, remind me, are you middle school or high school?
High school is my main focus.
Oh,
I've done it all, but I've done mostly high school my career.
yeah, that's
Hmm.
interesting.
Oh, I love it, man. It's fun.
I have a sophomore daughter. She's
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
And recently somebody asked me, do you think that it was harder, her middle school years or her high school years? And funny enough, I really dreaded the middle school years, probably because that's when I think I was the worst. And so I
Mm,
was like, if I can just make it through middle school, we'll be good. Well, we made it through
yeah.
middle school, and I think high school's tougher.
Yeah. Yeah.
The reason being is because it just seems like, and I'll speak for me and my
Yeah.
experience, my daughter, but it just kind of seems like she's so eager to be an adult, and she almost thinks that she is an adult, but she's not. But
Yeah.
I'm also prepping her to, fly the nest, and it's
Yeah.
like this really teeter totter, going back and forth. But like, can you speak on that? Can you just like, uh, just give me something. You know a lot.
Hey, you said just give me something. Well, one thing is, um, and I say she, but just in general, like they don't know that they don't know.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so, as a parent, as a leader, teacher, people, coach around students, you want to, you know, give them enough where they can like navigate the path, but then also continue to have that communication where it's trust between the two. You're like, hey, no, like you need to experience those things, right? But you also need to know, like, I got some expectations for you, and this is, these are the things that you're expected to do here in my house. Like my mom, boy, as long as you under my roof, you're gonna do this, right? That's what my mom was like. And so, there has to be some type of expectations. There has to be some uh, consequences when the expectations are not met. But then the big piece is follow up on the consequences when the expectations are not met, right? And so it don't have to be a long drawn out, like, hey, here's what I expect you to do, bam, bam, bam. Here's what's gonna happen if you don't do these things, bam, bam, bam. And then when it comes along, okay, here you go. We don't have to have no conversation. Ain't no gray area. Like, bro, I told you, like, if you do this, it's the consequence. That's what I got to do. Well, I'm gonna do that. I got to hold myself accountable too, to make sure that you're accountable.
Yeah.
And so I think within that builds some consistency. That shows them like they know what they're gonna get from you every time. Like they can bank on that, right? And I just like thinking of like with my son and thinking of like, athletes I coach, like, you know what you're gonna get from Coach Baker. I mean, like it ain't there's no gray area, like right? And I think that brings a comfort, that brings a trust. But I think also in there, the beauty of it is they need to know that we're learning together, right? Like I've never been this age doing this ever before, so I'm learning too. Right. Just like you've never been that age and you're navigating, you're learning too. But what I can say is I've been your age. You ain't been my age.
Yeah.
So you have to do more listening, right? And I have to listen too, right? Because some things are different, some things change, but what don't change is the core values, the discipline, the respect, all of those things. And we're going to do those things. Now, I may negotiables, non-negotiables, but it all centers from love. I think that's the word that comes up for me is love. When you say just give me something, I think at the end of the day, regardless of all of the things and the stuff that happens, like, if they know without a shadow of a doubt that you've gone above and beyond to show love to them, to take care of them. And in your case, I know you've done that for sure. Even like, even being a teacher and a coach, like if they know without a shadow of a doubt, like you care about them, man, they're going to give you everything you ask them to do above and beyond, because like they know like you're coming from a good place.
Yeah. Man, there's so many places I can go with this.
Come on, I got time. Let's get it.
Oh man, it's so true. It's just, man, life be life, and like you said,
life be life.
It's just it all comes back around. We talk about the expectations that we set for our kids. You said, set the expectations for them. But you also have to set the expectation for yourself, and what most of our audience is adults, we're probably not going to be speaking to a whole lot. Well, you might have a lot of high school kids watching your podcast, but my target audience is mostly adults. Like, how do you set realistic expectations for yourself and hold yourself accountable?
That's really where it starts. I'm glad you said that, because that's where it starts. Because like I'm just like, I think about like my son will mock me, right? He'll do things that I do, like how I stand with my hands in my pocket. He just laughs, right? But it cracks me up. But the reason he can do that is because like I've done the inner work to strive to be the best version of myself that I can be, so that I can give that to the people that I love and care for. And that starts with, having your core common principles, having values of what you believe in. And like, this is just me, my personal, I believe that actions speak louder than words. And so like I can say, hey, man, I expect you to make good choices and be a good person, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you see me not making good choices,
Mm-hmm.
not being a good person, being rude to someone. Well, that don't match up, y'all,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think that in doing that, I can't ask someone, a student, a kid, to do something to me. Just me. Like it's just how I operate. I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe I can ask someone to do something if I'm not demonstrating it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe that I want to be the example. Like I want you to be able to look at me and say, well, okay, that's the example, right? And I hadn't even said anything to you, but I want you to be able to look at me and say, oh, that's how I should operate. That's the
Mm-hmm.
example.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where it starts. We have to do that inner work,
Mm-hmm.
create those core common values, principles that we have. And what happens is when we do that, a lot of times we don't realize it's infectious and contagious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because impact of influence. I really
Come on.
believe that, you know, we influence people whether we believe it or not and whether we like it or not. I remember I know this is super random, but I remember when Rihanna was going through that drama with Chris Brown,
Yeah.
and she came on and she had an interview. I don't remember with who. Maybe like a year or two later. It was post all of it was post this situation. For anybody that doesn't know, Rihanna is a, what do you call her, a singer, dancer,
Yep. Yep.
popular,
Yep.
yeah,
Hmm.
celebrity, right? So she's in the
Yep.
spotlight, and her at the time boyfriend, which also is a dancer, singer, celebrity, uh, their domestic violence disputes got outed into the public, and he beat her up. He beat her up, and there was pictures, and she went back to him. She went back to that relationship after all of that happened. And then people were slandering her because they were saying, what kind of an influence are you to all of
Hmm.
these young girls that are
Yeah.
watching you? You're setting a bad example. And in her, at the time, all she could think was like, well, I didn't ask to be an influence to them, or like I'm not trying to be an influence to them. And she was basically, apologizing, because this interview was like after she had had some growth. But the truth is that you have influence whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or
Yeah.
not. You have to be a celebrity, and if you are a celebrity,
Yeah.
if you are in the public eye, well, there's more reason. Obviously, you're going to have a larger influence, but every single one of us has an influence. We have an influence in the way, I would take it down to even how your pets act. Don't be mad at your pet when they're acting a certain way because you treat them a certain way. Like
Yeah.
we all
Yeah.
know that. You see dogs in the shelter that are scared. Why do they act like that? Because they got beat the whole time.
Mm.
The kids in your household, they're influenced by you. The people at work, they're influenced by you. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, what your position is. And this was me for a very long time. I identified with my title for so long. Like, that was what would make or break me. If I was doing good as a realtor, I felt good about myself. If I didn't have a lot of sales, I felt horrible about myself. But it's not about your title. Like, you as a individual, you have a lot of power, you have a lot of influence, and you can impact so many people. Whether you like it or not, you do it already.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like just speaking on the title thing, uh, I think we have to understand it's what that's like the title stuff. That's what we do, right? That's not who we are.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense, right? And so, like, who we are stems from knowing whose we are, and having those core common values and principles and doing the best that we can to do the work on ourselves. Now, when we do that, that definitely bleeds into what we do, right? And
Mhm.
how we carry ourselves and how we do what we do as far as, realtor, teacher, all of those things. But like, I'm not just striving to be a great like educator, teacher, coach, speaker, author. Like I want to be a great me,
Mhm.
you know. And I think that if I can just be the best version of me that I can be, then everything else benefits from that. And it's not about um, title and all of that stuff because I don't have to have a title to influence.
Right.
I don't have to have a title to be a leader. I don't have to have a title to be a great person. I don't have to
Mhm.
have a title to treat people right, right?
Mhm.
And so I think when it starts from just striving to do things the right way, I think all of the other stuff falls in line. And for some of us, it takes us, a while to understand. I think that comes with maturity. I think
Mhm.
that comes with having some experiences to be, humbled, if you will, you
Mhm.
know. And some of us have to learn those things. Like it's not about like like stuff, like what you have. It's not about all of that. It's about like life and doing right and treating people right and being grateful for the people that you do have in your life and honoring them.
Yeah, 100%. Um, One of the things that I noticed about you very early is like you just seemed very well rooted, and I think that that was part of that confidence that I was seeing in you, and like this sense of peace, this aura of peace that you just carry. It doesn't matter what you're doing, it doesn't matter how much you have on your plate, how many meetings or what your agenda looks like. You have like this aura of peace. And so you've mentioned it a couple of times. What are your values, where are your morals? And on volume 3, I talk about how I was an atheist for many, many years, and I
Yeah.
just didn't believe in God. And if you would have asked me then, I would have told you naively, very naively told you, like, I'm a good person, I'm a good person. But I came to learn that I didn't even know what a good person was, because my definition of a good person was whatever was convenient to me in the moment,
Mm,
because I identified myself as a good person, me being the definition
yeah.
of a good person, and giving myself grace when it was convenient and not giving people grace when it was convenient. And so, I mean, I would love to jump into your faith a little bit, because I know that you're a believer in Jesus Christ as well. And,
Hmm.
that has really helped me become very well rooted. And I think for really anybody that feels lost, or just they can't seem to find their way, or they're in that dark place, like, I will very unashamedly say, like, seek Jesus Christ, open up the Bible. I love
Yeah.
the book
Yeah.
of Proverbs because it gives you a chapter a day that you could read. But for me, that was a very defining moment to be able to say, like, look, this is where my morals and values come from. This is now what I define good, not what's convenient to me. Um, I guess what do you like? How did you grow up? Did you grow up in the church? Is that, or was that something that you found later on?
No, I grew up in a faith family, man. Like,
That's
uh,
a blessing,
uh
by the way.
oh, huge blessing. Like I was very fortunate to be raised in a faith family. I tell people, all the time I was raised, around church folk and educators, right? And so, down south, you take the S off that mean we were like for real in church. Uh, and the reason being is my mother was the minister of music in our church growing up, and my grandmother was a minister of music as well. So, all kind of church services, anything that was going on in the church, we had to be there. Um, and so, and then like the educator piece, they were educators, long time retired teachers. So putting those two things together, church and educator, it's a premise of service, right?
Mm-hmm.
It comes from a background of service, which deeper than that comes from a background of being of faith, being of service to others, exhibiting grace and forgiveness to yourself and to others, and doing what you can to make things better. And so I was able to, like I talked to you about earlier, I was able to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Like yes, they said those things, like, boy, you're gonna work hard, you're gonna do right, you're gonna give service. Like, I was told those things, but I was able to see those things exhibited, right? And then I was also fortunate enough to experience, growing through some tough times with my family as well, raising single parent. So I mean, like all of those things that that like tough times, and just watching my mom have faith in God when I know that I don't know if she should, or like, when we don't have any food at the house, but we're out. She's out doing a Thanksgiving drive to give food to people in the community to help them, giving service. Right? We go home and there's nothing in our fridge or pantry. Right? We didn't have a pantry; we had a shelf. Right? But but I was able to see those things, and it did, man, it did something to me. It did something to my heart. It did something, a work within me, and I didn't know that as a kid, right? I didn't know until I got older that, like, man, that's some good stuff that I was able to see. And so I'm just strive to, in my life, exhibit those same things, and make them proud. And it's just come from that firm faith foundation. Um, we started out talking about storms. When you're deeply rooted, so like a house, right? Like we've had some natural weather things happen here recently. When they build a house, they don't start from the roof, right? They start with the foundation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they build a firm foundation with the house. And when you have storms, some pieces of the house may get damaged or some things like that, but the foundation, it don't move,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so again, in our life, we have to build that firm faith foundation, that firm foundation in our life, so that regardless of any storm that we may come through, we won't be moved, and we hold firm to what we believe in, because it's the right things to do.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm hard-headed. Like it took me a good minute to figure
Yeah,
out that, you know, there's somebody and something much greater than me.
a higher power. Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
yeah.
I actually got into like the self-development industry, so to speak,
Hmm.
about 10 years ago. And so I would do all of the things, I would read the books, I would go to the conferences, I would do all the things. And
Yeah.
one of the questions that you hear early on is like, find your why, find the bigger purpose. Man, I struggled with that.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
really believe that the reason that I struggled with it is because my bigger purpose is to serve the kingdom of God. And
Right,
until
right.
I could figure that out, until I could submit to that, I I was stuck. I was capped. And
Hmm.
we talk about the trickle effect. I hear a lot of entrepreneurs talk about it. It starts with your spiritual. Like, what do you mean? Well, it starts here and then it's all just a trickle down, because we're
Hmm.
talking about service and everything that you do, but I would say that you've been very successful. I think that you have a lot to show. You live a good life, you have a loving family. Like, and I see that that's a trickle down, and I see it in my life now too.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's a good place to be. First off, congratulations to you on, you're finding your space and those things and doing the work to learn those things.
Thank
uh,
you.
because it takes work, right?
Mm,
Like you can't expect for greatness to happen if you're not willing to put in work to make greatness happen. You have to
mhm.
go get it. You might have heard that before. But I believe that man, you have to be willing to put in the work to do those things, and it's a great journey to be on. And what happens is when you do that, you organically eliminate the distractions.
Mhm,
You organically figure out yourself, right?
mhm,
You organically figure out, what are the things that make me happy? What are the things that don't make me happy? What are
mhm,
the things that, ooh, I don't like? What are the things that I don't feel good about that? Like you learn all of the, what are my triggers? Like what are, like all of those things you learn along that journey, and then you get to a space to where you feel that, and I've learned some pretty neat things. I've seen some pretty cool things. Okay, now what am I going to do with those?
mhm,
Right. And so when you get to the place where you can start sharing those with others, and being open and transparent, and living and learning and operating in grace and forgiveness, starting with yourself, giving
mhm,
yourself grace and forgiveness,
mhm,
and then doing that for others. That's a great place to be.
mhm. It's
Um,
a weight lifted off of you. Forgiveness, like
oh
that's
my
a big one.
gosh,
Learn to forgive. Forgive your parents, man. Like they were doing the best that
yeah,
they could with what they had.
that's
I
right.
actually was thinking about that when you were saying the story about Thanksgiving. And I actually I wondered, like, I wonder, did you get like, were you resentful about that in the moment, did you have to forgive your mom
Mhm.
about that?
Well, um, I don't know that I never felt like pointing blame.
Mhm,
It was just like, to me, it was just the situation. Like I was aware of the situation. I didn't
mhm,
go as far as to say, well, mom, you like,
mhm.
because I didn't feel like, first off, she beat my butt. No. But secondly, like, of course I wouldn't go say those things, but I was aware to see all of that. I
Mhm,
think that's one thing that the big man has blessed me with too, is the ability to have awareness. And I mean, when you've been around me, I'm really an introverted guy. I don't really like this guy that you see on this interview. Like this ain't the same guy that you see when we hang out, right? Like I'm really laid back. I'm really, I'm not gonna say a lot. I'm gonna have a good time.
mhm,
Be in the moment, but I'm
mhm,
not just, I don't have to be the life of the party and loud. I don't have to do all of that.
mhm,
I'm just chilling. And so
mhm,
I think the big man has blessed me with the ability to be able to just have some awareness to see and hear things,
mhm.
uh, and then make the adjustments based off of the things that I see and hear. And that has served me well in my life.
Yeah, for
So I'm not
sure.
going to stop doing that.
That's beautiful. I'm so happy to hear that. Like, I mean, you were raised in the faith, you were raised with those morals, and it's
Mhm.
beautiful to hear that that didn't cause you any type of resentment, because I think
No.
it's a matter of perspective a lot of times. How are you
Yes.
going to perceive things? And
Yep.
I think that, another child in that situation could have easily run with it in another direction and been resentful. And, you know, I just think forgiveness is such a big key to elevating your life. Like I really do believe that. Like you said, forgiving yourself for those bad decisions that you've made in the past, and then
Yeah.
extend that forgiveness to the people that you have resentment towards, if you do. And I really think that you should start with your parents if that applies to you.
Yeah. I've said this before. Uh, Forgiving is for giving. Let me give that one again. For, Forgiving is for giving,
Hmm.
right? And when we learn to forgive, um, I think it does a couple of things. I think first, um, you don't operate in a manner where you're weighted down with what's happened to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, but what it does is um, it allows you to move on and continue without dragging it around with you. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we can learn to forgive, and I just this makes me reflect a little bit too. Like you think about it, like in our lives, probably the people that have hurt us most are the people that we love the most.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let that sink in,
Yeah.
right? Like the people that have hurt us, cut us to the core,
Mm-hmm.
right? Hurt us, have been people that we trust, or people that we love, or people that we're looking to pour into to help, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it hurts so much because it means so much,
Right.
right? Because it's your heart is attached to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what we have to do is learn to forgive and move on, because a lot of times, like for example, like family ain't going nowhere. I mean, you like you're gonna be around family, so you
Mm-hmm.
better learn to forgive. You better have a system to communicate and say, hey, that wasn't good for me. Can we make this better? You got to have a system of communication to where you can openly communicate. You know, and if you look in the middle of the word communication, it's you and I in there. You write the word communication, you and I is in the middle of that, and so
Good. I
it
never heard
requires you. It
that.
requires you and I, right, to have effective communication. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have to have a system of communication to where we can be open and say, okay, well, if you're talking and I'm listening, if I'm talking, you're listening. Okay, then we have a time. Okay, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? And so then, how are we gonna move on together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I love you, I'm here and I care. I ain't going nowhere. So
Mm-hmm.
how are we gonna move on from this? How can I be better in the
Mm-hmm.
situation from? So you have to have a system
Mm-hmm.
of communication within that forgiving, so that you continue to move on. And I think that when we're young, when we're immature, we don't know that,
Mm-hmm.
right? We just know it hurt. I
Yeah.
don't like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I don't like that. That don't feel good. I can't believe you did that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just that. But then when we have some maturity, um, and understanding, well, okay, what's my part in that? Do I play it?
Right.
Sometimes you play a part, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's out of your control. It's just something that happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to have a system of communication so that you can move past that and not hold on to it. Because if you don't learn to forgive, it'll hold you back for sure.
For sure. It'll definitely weigh you down. And I feel like that kind of brings us full circle. Uh, there's power in proximity, and that's a double-edged sword because,
Mm,
like you said, the people closest to you are the people that you trust. However, they're usually the people that hurt you willingly or hurt you the most, willingly or unwillingly, uh,
yeah,
because there is power in proximity. However, relationships are very important. Your relationships are very important. We kind of started this whole interview with, collaborations and partnerships and how we are better together. We can do much more together than we can individually. And so I believe that that is the reason why forgiveness is so important and not isolating yourself, not learning to because you distrust one person or two person or three people, multiple people. It's still not a good enough reason for you not to go and build healthy relationships.
yeah, so good. Um, but I think it's a journey, right? Like I'm just thinking about, like you threw out the word relationships, and I'll share this quote that I heard from one of my former pastors. I always share it. Life moves at the speed of our relationships,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so those people that are doing great things, they have great relationships. Those people that are doing not so great things, they probably need better relationships in their life. And so, what are we doing to work on those? Like it requires work to make relationships work,
Right.
right? And so you have to put the work in to do those things and learn yourself, Learn the people that you're in relationships with.
Mhm.
But when you take the time to do that, those people see that, and they're more apt uh, to do that for you as well. But then also operate in grace and forgiveness. And like I go back to like you have to have some like negotiables and non-negotiables, right? So like in the relationships with the communication, working on the forgiveness, like there's got to be some things where like and like we can discuss that. That's a negotiable, like we can talk about that and determine, how we're gonna work through that. But then there's some non-negotiables where like, bro, you ain't doing that.
Mhm.
Like man, you can forget about that. Uh,
Mhm.
and so there's some non-negotiables, and so we have to know ourselves first, right? Know those triggers, know those things that we love and we don't love, know those things that set us off, like all of that stuff. We have to know that stuff about ourselves before we can effectively be great
Mhm.
in those relationships.
Yeah, 100%. And keep in mind the law of reciprocation. Whatever you put
Come
out
on.
is what you're going to get in. So you want more friends, be a better friend. You want more love, show more
Yeah,
love.
I love
You
that.
want more quality time, give quality time. There's a lot, it's a law. It doesn't matter what
Yep.
you think or believe about it.
Yep.
It doesn't matter
Yep.
what you want to identify it as. It's a law. It is what it is, what it is. So, it's a law of reciprocation. What you put out, you get in. And I think, keep yourself accountable in that degree. And keeping yourself accountable is hard. And it sucks sometimes because you have to look at yourself and like, I dropped the ball here. I did that. And sometimes you have to apologize, and apologizing sucks. Nobody likes to apologize.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you are a better person for it, and it does help build your relationships and build trust within those relationships too, which I think at the end of the day is 100% worth it.
Oh, without a doubt. Like, man, we have to get over ourselves. You
Yeah.
know, understand that we aren't perfect.
Hmm.
We all make mistakes. Some of us make more than others.
Same.
You know, you know, but the beauty of it is we have to understand, man. If I made a mistake and I blew something, hey, I made a mistake on that. I blew that. Can you forgive me? How can we move on? And so I think that just puts you in a position to have growth.
Yeah. Well, Chip, I could talk to you all day. Um, Before I leave you, I'd like to ask you one more question.
Okay.
Uh, what does the future hold for you? What's in your future?
Big things, Denise. Let's go. No, I just I think for me just striving to be the best version of myself. Um, right. And with that, being better at everything that I'm involved in, each moment of each day, just strive, like you said earlier, just striving to be 1% better each day. And what's crazy is like I can say some things, like my goals. I can say yes, sell more books, travel, have more speaking engagements, um, you know, be be better for my people, to give better service, to help others. Like I can say all of those things, but truthfully, there's some things that's in store that I have no clue about that's going to happen because I'm just striving to put the work in. And so, opportunities bring opportunities. So I
Mhm.
think that when we're in the moment with all of the opportunities that we're blessed and fortunate to have, it's going to blow us away with the opportunities that will come because of that. And so, um, got some things that I'm planning, got some goals, more books, speaking, traveling, service. Got some things that I'm working on to grow, developing leaders. I'll be doing some of that, more. A couple of the books that I've put out recently are geared for teaching and helping and developing leaders. Like the focus is that. And so I think that there's a need for that right now in our world to just be of service and help others and be a tour guide and not a travel agent, right? Not just set people up for the trip, but actually take people on the journey, on the trip to help them be better leaders. And so my goal is to work on some of that, but really, and I have no clue all the things that's gonna come because that's what I'm hoping and praying for, and putting in the work for that too. So
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And I'm sure you have a beautiful future ahead.
thank you
Just
so
knowing
much.
what I
Thank
know
you.
about you.
Yeah, thank you
So
so much.
we'll put your contact information down in the captions,
Yeah,
but if anybody does want to know more about you, hear
yeah.
more, check out the other books, what's the best form of communication for you?
Yeah, so all of my social media is at Chip Baker TSC, as in the Success Chronicles. All of my social media is that except for X, and it's Chip Baker 19. So now I'm really responsive on my social media. Like, who's your social media manager? Oh, that's me, right? uh, who's your who's your travel? Oh, wait, that's me. That's me too. So, I'm real responsive to all of those things. Just reach out, man. I love to connect. I love to be of service, and I hope that again, thank you so much for the time and having me. And I hope that it's been beneficial for your people and your platform.
Yeah, no, thank you. And before I leave you, can we get a sneak peek of the book? Because I know you got I know you got a copy
Of
hiding back
course,
there. I'm waiting
of
for my copy
course,
still.
of course. Now I wouldn't do this for everybody. No, but Denise, oh yeah, we can, bam, we can show
There
the
it is, you
we can
guys.
the impact of influence right there, and that's the front cover. Here's the
And,
back cover. There's a
and
lady in there you might know. Let's see where she is right here.
there's some other
Uh,
awesome authors on there.
oh,
Some that I've met
amazing
before, some that
people.
are new, but or to me, new to me. But guys, we'll put all the information in the caption so you can get your copy and
Mhm.
definitely follow Chip. He's got some great content,
Thank
and
you.
that is all.
Yeah, let me. I wanted to show them your chapter here, if you don't mind. I'm going along here so I can uh let me get to it here because they need to see that
Boom.
right there. Who is that lady?
But okay, well, thank you so much, Chip. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll definitely be in touch, and thank you so much for coming on here with me.
Thank you so much for having me. Go get it.